Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Mitch McConnell has released his new stimulus strategy. New comments are out on how the election might affect stimulus. COVID cases are skyrocketing and Mnuchin is in the Middle East. Let's get into this. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is in the Middle East, and despite this, Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin are expected to speak late tonight to finally exchange the language on one puny part of the next stimulus bill that they both already mostly agreed on Thursday. Mitch McConnell says the Senate will vote on a PPP bill on Tuesday and a larger $500 billion COVID relief package on Wednesday. In fact, this here is Mitch McConnell's COVID-19 relief and Senate schedule letter. Mitch McConnell says Speaker Pelosi has wasted months playing political games with the health and financial security of American families. Republicans have tried numerous times to secure a bipartisan agreement where possible and get aid out of the door. Now, I think a lot of people would argue that Republicans have not in sincerity put forth and voted on an actual bill because the last package was $500 billion and went nowhere. But today, they think, you know what? Let's just reintroduce that $500 billion bill, because if it didn't go anywhere last time, surely it'll go somewhere this time. But Mitch McConnell says Nancy Pelosi keeps saying she feels nothing is better than something. Next week, Senate Republicans will move to break the logjam. Nobody thinks this $500 billion proposal would resolve every problem forever. However, it would deliver huge amounts of additional help to workers and families right now, while people in Washington continue to bicker over the other details. And this new $500 billion bill is going to look exactly like the skinny bill that went nowhere last time. And it'll include money for unemployed benefits, probably $300 per week like last time, a second round of PPP funding, probably liability protections, though they did not say that in this bullet point list, $100 billion for schools, which is half of what the Democrats want, money for testing, tracing, and treatments like a vaccine and distributing a vaccine. These are just some of the urgent needs that Washington should meet immediately while debates continue over the rest. This is $500 billion of good that Congress can do right now, says Mitch McConnell. It is heartless for Democrats to continue to their total blockade of any aid whatsoever unless Speaker Pelosi gets her way. And so the schedule is that the Senate will vote on this bill on Wednesday, following a standalone vote on additional PPP funding on Tuesday. So next week they will pass and vote on at least 2 standalone bills, barring any kind of Democrat obstruction, they say. Okay, well, at least we know the Senate is going to get a whole lot of nothing done next week. We are now 17 days away from the election, and we have a plan for Mitch McConnell, although it sucks. Obviously, we don't expect Democrats to go for this, especially when we consider election politics, which for this, I think it's useful to listen into what Kim Wallace says about the current stalemate on CNBC. This is a former assistant to the Secretary of Treasury during the Obama administration who has insights into these negotiations and negotiation politics, which can be very useful for giving us some insights into what the heck is really going on here. All right, here is Kim. Let's listen to what he says.
More importantly, perceptions matter a lot, and they certainly do in politics. Both parties have elements that believe doing a deal on the terms of the other party right now is worse than waiting to find out what happens in the election and then waiting to find out when you can pass legislation. That may be the lame duck, but I think you'd have to have a lot go in one direction to have lame duck legislation. For example, if the Senate were to flip to D by a net 5 or 6 seats, meaning that the Alabama seats stayed in the Democrats' hands and Georgia or South Carolina are both moved over to Democrats, then Republicans might be willing to move something out if the economic fundamentals advised it.
Mr. Wallace here is suggesting that if we do not get a bill done by the election, all of the election politics are going to get skewed, and if Democrats take control of everything, it'll be very difficult to convince any Republicans to come on board unless there is specific economic pressure. This is leading a lot of individuals to say, unless for some reason this next wave of COVID causes more catastrophe, it could actually be hard to get a stimulus package done after this election, and instead we might have to wait until March. potentially February. That would be after the next Congress gets into session, which begins in January. The next president gets in, or the current president stays in around the end of January, and then they put something together in Feb or March. That is, we really, really hope that over the next 17 days, we can get a stimulus package done. Because if we hit this lame duck session, we have no idea what's going to happen. Let's continue to listen to what they say here, though.
Hey, Kim, it's Brian Kelly. So I'm curious, you mentioned the economic fundamentals. So it seems as though that these bills tend to pass when either the stock market falls apart or there's a real bad economic outcome. So where's kind of the pain point for these politicians? What should we as investors be looking for? Frankly, I find it troubling that they're haggling while Americans are hurting. But let's look at, what is going to get these politicians to get closer together on the economic and or stock market front?
Well, economic fundamentals, and the problem with that in terms of pressure for this year, Brian, is that if we're going to have a collapse in the third quarter, more than likely we would know it by now, and that would be motivational. It hasn't been motivational to the two.
In other words, if we're going to actually see that kind of pressure, that big next wave, would have probably already happened by now. Although that does bring up COVID. On COVID, we hit an insane 70,451 cases today with 909 new deaths. This means cases are up 29% over the last 14 days, which Dr. Fauci says is very concerning going into the cold season. Many are blaming this on, quote, pandemic fatigue, and some say that this could actually cause the economy to crash again, especially if there are new lockdowns, which, according to what Kim Wallace here and the individuals on CNBC say, could be what we actually need to get a stimulus package. Not that we're wishing to have another wave, but isn't it pathetic that that's what it takes for our Congress to actually do something? On the flip side, people say, well, look at China. They got it all dealt with within 30 days, but China did lock down completely, track everyone, and basically violated every single American belief to kill the virus in China. Some say that's the benefit of communism. Others say the word benefit and communism don't belong in the same sentence. Or they just say plandemic. Or you have yet others who say 909 people died today. We have to take this seriously. At the same time, we can't get on the same page on COVID relief right now because we got frickin' assweepes in the government who wait until everything is on fire to take out the fire extinguisher, when they should be spending time helping Americans today. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for the continued support and watching. Get your life insurance in the link down below in as little as 5 minutes. Apple Pay and Android Pay for it, and get 2 free stocks with Webull in the link down below when you deposit $100. Thanks. Bye.